Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to Mixed Media Mayhem, where we're using two pattern papers, splatter, and a large title. I'm also playing along with Series 20 of 30 Days of Sketches, and the sketch was created by me. And I'm not going to follow it. I'm kind of following it, but not really. I've shrunk my photos down. I am doing some paper layers behind my photos, but my background is going to be completely different. I'm inking up this entire left-hand side of the paper with some Distress Oxide ink. I'm pretty sure I have some Twisted Citron there, and I want to say Bundled Sage, but I'm not really 100% sure. It might be Shabby Shutters or Shabby Shutters or Peeled Paint. I think I'm going to show you in just a moment here. So I am inking up the rest of the paper, but really I pretty much only need the left-hand side inked. So there it is, Shabby Shutters and Peeled Paint. I didn't use Twisted Citron. I was completely wrong. It's been a minute since I did this video, and you know, sometimes when you do a lot of videos in between, or there's a lot of time that's passed, you don't remember these things. That's why I try to show the camera. I have some decoupage papers, or yeah, I guess that's what they're called. These are just off of Amazon, and they were a variety of different like collage papers, basically. They're not really decoupage, they're collage papers. And then I have some book papers, and I'm using some matte gel medium to adhere them down, and I am just doing a collage on the right hand side. So you use the matte gel underneath, and then you put it right on top of the papers that you're adhering down, and it will create a matte finish, but it will hold everything in place, very much like Mod Podge. But it I don't know, a lot of people say that their Mod Podge doesn't, it stays tacky or doesn't dry all the way, and I know you can get the matte Mod Podge and the glossy one. You can even get sparkly Mod Podge if you really want. But matte gel is what I use most of the time. I think I do have some Mod Podge in my house, but not actually sure where it's at. So the matte gel works great. It also works great to hold on heavy items like metal pieces and that kind of stuff when you're doing stuff that is especially 3D projects and such. So it's, you know, it's very handy stuff to have. You can get it in a soft body, a heavy body, a medium, and I think this one is just medium. So, which means the thickness of it. So some is a little more watery and some is a little thicker. You can always water the thicker stuff down with a little water. But yeah, that's what it's used for the most part. There's, you know, people do all kinds of interesting things with it, but that's what I'm using it for today, is to create this collage on the right hand side, because I'm doing a layout that has kind of like a, well, I'm just going to call it a 50-50 layout. It's half colored and half pattern paper, and so I definitely got my two pattern papers in. This actually used probably 3 pattern paper, 4, because I've got book paper, I've got the sheet music, I've got a couple of other ones that are in there. Now I'm not using the whole thing, I don't know if that counts or not. I'm also going to be using some pattern papers underneath my photo, my 2 photos, but my photos are definitely smaller than what was in the sketch, but I'm just gonna go with it. So in my photo, it's the middle of the 3 kids that I take care of. She's just looking super cute this day, and so I had taken a couple pictures of her, and this is just because layout. There's nothing really amazing going on or anything, and she's just looking adorable when she was just her tiny little self. And so you know, capturing them at that age is always fun. And in the photo, it's springtime, so she's wearing a pink shirt. It's not because it's springtime, but the green in the photo is that very yellowy chartreuse kind of a green, and so that's why I chose the green. Now I'm also making a tag out of this. So what happened was, I had some mixed media paper that was 11 by 14, And I was actually teaching a class on how to do this. And so I wanted my paper to be 11 by 11. I knew I was going to put a border around it because I had a bunch of this paper and I thought, well, this would be a great way to use it up because we're using it for a class. And so the piece that I cut off of the long side that ended up being 3 inches wide. So this is a 3 by 11 piece, and it's going to become a tag and part of the embellishments that go on my page. Okay, so now I'm going to use this pencil and this woody. So these are both by Stabilo. The first one that I showed you is a Stabilo All pencil. It's just called a Stabilo All, and it's water activated, kind of like a watercolor pencil. And so I am tapping my finger over onto my glass mat because there's a little puddle of water which you can't see, but it's definitely there. So I keep tapping my finger over there to kind of get moisture on it so I can smudge these black lines around. And so I'm kind of testing both of these pencils out to see what the difference is or how they react differently, because I'm going to be using them in the class that I was teaching at my retreat. And so this is really kind of a cool way to get some smudgy lines without having to ink all your papers ahead of time and worry about the ink smudging. So if I were to have inked all of these papers with some distress ink before I put the matte gel down, the matte gel would have reactivated the water-based ink and it would have smudged them further. So I would have had to use a permanent ink to keep from smudging it. But doing it after the fact with the pencil actually works really well also. So it just gives you a different kind of a shadowy effect, and it's just different. And then the spray that I used on there was some Distress Oxide in sponge sugar. The pink was sponge sugar. So I did spritz a little of that onto the background here for this tag that I'm also going to be making. So the idea was over the course of a few days we would put together this project because there's a lot of dry time in between, and with many people doing it, it just takes time. Now somehow I did not capture, or I've lost the video, but I did use modeling paste and some stamping. So I used a text stamp, as you can see there, with some permanent black ink. Just used some Ranger archival ink to stamp down those the text, and then I used some opaque white texture paste from Ranger to do the stencil work, and the stencil is from the Crafter's Workshop. And so I apologize that you didn't get to see that, but I definitely used them there, and you can see them. And those are going to become my 3 embellishment areas. I'm just trying to figure out exactly where I want everything. I do know they're kind of where the photos are going. I'm just kind of being super picky about the placement because I didn't know what part of the collaged background I wanted to be sure to show. And then I'm going to go ahead and start working on my clusters. So I did use some tape, some ATG, to go ahead and adhere everything down. And then I like to go around the outside, right underneath the outer edge of the top paper, with some liquid glue, so that if there's any buckling or warping, it really holds it in place and keeps it stuck down to the black paper so that they don't separate. I did use these dies from Tim Holtz for Sizzix, and I just cut out some black leaves, and that was an intentional move on my part because I knew I was teaching a class, so I needed to reproduce this. And so cutting out leaves for everybody in class was really easy. I didn't have to, you know, fussy cut anything or stamp anything. It was just really easy. And plus there's already a lot going on with my background and my embellishment areas, so I wanted to keep it simple. And with that black border, which ends up being a 1/2 inch all the way around, I wanted to kind of play off of that a little bit more as well. So I did use some dies here to create my embellishment areas, and they are taken right out of that tag that I had made, or the 3x11 sheet, which I cut in half. I used 1/2 of it for these die cut images. Well, 2 are die cut and 1 is punched, and then the other half of it will become a tag, and you'll see that at the end of the video. And then I had this little embellishment pack that I got off of Amazon because I could get a couple of them really inexpensively, and people could just kind of pick and choose what kind of film strips they wanted. For the class, I didn't know what kind of photos everybody was going to use, so I let them pick whatever colors they wanted. They had choices of all of the inks that I have that are distress and all of the sprays. So they were able to pick and choose. So if they had a lot of blue going on, they could pick blue, whatever they wanted to do. And so creating the tag worked really well because they're using the same products on the tag as they are on the finished layout. And that way everything kind of ties together because they're getting that sprinkling of the same colors on the embellishments that they're die cutting and punching. Now, all of the other pieces that came in this little die cut set or set of film strips, they are all cream, white, black, very neutral tones. So they're going to match as well. And then everybody kind of had to fend for themselves for a title. So I just used the title Smile. We did have lots of dies available, so people could die cut words if they wanted. But if they wanted to use thickers out of their own pack, they could definitely do that as well. I did not provide a title for them. Not that I'm selling you a class or anything, but just kind of telling you a little bit about what we did at our retreat. And then I did bring in these hearts, and that was something that was optional as well. They could go and die cut some hearts if they wanted. And then now I'm going to go ahead and use a piece of paper here just to go ahead and cut my tag top. I just cut an angle off of a separate piece of paper, and then I flipped it over and cut the other angle off of it. I had another set of stencils that had some greenery and leaves. Everybody got to take a couple of stencils home, one out of the greenery and one out of the background. So they did not all use the same background stencils that I used. They got to pick which ones they wanted to use, and then they got to take them home with them. And then I did provide a little bit of this cheesecloth, and then they had several sets of leaf dies that they could choose from if they wanted to use something different than what I used. But the dies were all available so that they could just go ahead and die cut them and then ink them up with the same inks. Now I did use that book paper piece, but it doesn't really show up a whole lot, and I didn't worry about it too much because it's super brittle. So most people did not end up using the book piece leaf because it kind of settles into the background anyway, and it was just being super brittle. But they all had book pages and such like that. And then they had access to this die or this punch as well. So they could do a couple of tickets across here using whatever papers they wanted to use, whatever they backed their photos with. So they could pull from their stash from that, or they could just layer up papers with different kinds of inks to kind of separate them out. So while I work on this, I wanted to remind you there is links down below for 30 Days of Sketches. There's also a link down below for Mixed Media Mayhem. And you can go and join both of those Facebook groups and see everything that is coming up and play along if you'd like. So the links for that and for as many of the products that I can list are down below so that you can check that out as well. I did have one of these small talk books from, it's a small talk, I think it's called Chit Chat, maybe not Chit Chat, I don't know, from Tim Holtz, and they were able to pick some of those little phrases in white or black, whichever they preferred. And then I had some of this ribbony stuff, I don't know what it's called, and some thread, and they were able to go ahead and top their tag with whatever piece they wanted. I had multiple colors available so that they can make sure that it matched and they could kind of pick and choose. So that is pretty much it, you guys. I don't think there's a whole lot more to this video, just kind of doing the final touches here. So don't forget to check out everyone else playing along with both hops. I really appreciate that you guys spent some time with me today. And if you have any questions or comments, you can leave those down below. I apologize if my voice is a little bit off or I'm sniffing. I am sick once again. And my voice keeps giving out, so I kind of keep pausing to take a moment to keep talking to you. But anyway, I thought that was it, you guys. Oh, no, I'm going to add a little bit of film strip here to this tag because I think it needed a little depth of color. Anyway, that's it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you have any questions or comments, again, leave them down below. Hit the thumbs up button if you don't mind. And if you aren't subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to consider subscribing as well. And hit the bell for notifications so that you get a notice each time I release a new video. Thank you for bearing with me and my voice, and I will see you guys again real soon with another video. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.